Hi friend, my name is Sarah and welcome back to my channel. I feel like a lot of fantasy books that are popular and interesting are part of a book series, and sometimes you're just not in the mood to start a new series when you have, I don't know, a few or a couple series that you're already in the middle of. In today's video, I thought I would share with you the 7 standalone fantasy books that I think you should pick up the next time you're in the mood of reading a fantasy book. I have read 2 and there are 5 that I haven't read, but I have heard so many great things about it, and let's just dive right in. I'm gonna talk about the first couple books that I have read already. This first one is called Aftertaste by Daria Lavelle. I actually got sent this book by Simon & Schuster a few months ago when it first released. So thank you, Simon & Schuster, for sending this amazing book. I actually trying to avoid this book as much as I can because in the synopsis of the book, it does mention ghosts. And I am a scaredy cat person. I don't want to read books or watch anything that has ghosts in it, so I have been avoiding this book for a few months, but I decided to pick it up anyway because it was part of this Goodreads seasonal challenge and I have the book, so might as well. And I kind of regretted not reading this book sooner because this story is just so good. It touches my heart in a very unexpected way. And I'm pretty sure this is her debut novel. The plot twist and the ending are something that I never expected, so it actually left me pretty satisfied at the end of the book. But anyways, the book is about Constantine, whose dad passed away when he was 10. I'm pretty sure his family moved to the US maybe a few years before that, and I'm pretty sure they are Ukrainian, just like the author. So a few years after his dad passed away, he had this weird feeling that he can taste something in the back of his mouth, and years later when he was an adult, he realized that that is actually a gift where he can taste a deceased person's favorite meal. And he also accidentally find out that if he make or create this taste that he's tasting, he can actually reunite this deceased person with that person's living relative or friends. So he was trying to basically helping the deceased kind of finish their unfinished business. And the thing is, things didn't really happen the way that they or he expected, and something definitely went wrong. And throughout the book, you kind of learn a little bit about what went wrong and what he needed to do to fix it. In between all of this, you also get a little bit of a romance subplot. And like I said, the ending was just something that I did not expect. Even though I didn't really like it, but I kind of understand why Daria wrote it that way. And I have accepted the ending. If you are kind of on the verge of picking up this book, I think you should, because I actually gave this book a 5-star. So the next one that I have read recently, obviously this year, is Starling House by Alex E. Harrow. Again, this is described as gothic fantasy, and honestly anything with the word gothic in it is probably a little too scary for me, especially when I read the synopsis of this book. It has this eerie, spooky vibe, so I have been avoiding this book so much. And again, because it was part of a Goodreads seasonal challenge like a few months ago, I again decided to pick it up because I already have the book. So this book is about, I want to say her name is Opal. She lives in a very small town, and there is a history about her mom in the past that is kind of haunting her. And there's also this house called the Starling House that was kind of in the middle of her small town that she lives in that also has some type of history. It was built, I don't know, a couple hundreds years back by a famous author, children's author, E. Starling, and she also disappeared and nobody knows where she went and all of that. And every single time when Opal has like a dream, she feels like this house is calling onto her. I also learned throughout the book that the Starling House has this guy who basically inherited it from his parents, and the guy actually offered Opal a job to clean the house, and that is when things start to happen. I did not expect the twist and the ending, And I am not someone who usually read gothic fantasy, so everything is just so unexpected for me. But if you do read a lot of the gothic fantasy books that are out there, probably it's expected or you probably have predicted it. But anyways, this book was also a pretty good read for me. It was scary at first. I think I was finishing this book up at like 2 a.m. and I immediately needed to pick up something lighthearted and fluffy. But again, this book is great. If you haven't had a chance to read this book, I would highly recommend picking up this book sometime in the future. So those are the 2 books that I have read so far. The next 5 books, I haven't read it, but again, I have heard pretty great things about it. So the next one that I have in my pile is Our Infinite Fates by Laura Steven. I actually picked this book up as my, I want to say, maybe the 3rd book of the month book that I picked once I subscribed to them. And this book again has a pretty interesting premise. Let me just read the synopsis. Evelyn can remember all her past lives. She can also remember that in every single one, she's been murdered before her 18th birthday by Arden, a supernatural being linked to her soul. The problem is that she's quite fond of the life she's in now, and her little sister needs her in order to stay alive. If Evelyn wants to save her sister, she'll have to find the centuries-old devil who hunts her through each life before they find her first. Figure out why she's being hunted and finally break their curse and try not to fall in love again. So it's a very kind of like interesting and weird plot. So this girl is basically always being killed by her soulmate. I think it's usually like a girl and a guy, but sometimes throughout their lives they could also flip gender and stuff. But at the end, no matter what happened, Evelyn will be killed before her 18th birthday by the person that is technically her soulmate. The good thing again also about this book is that it is a standalone fantasy book, so if you are in the mood for that type of story, you can pick it up, and then once you're done. You don't have to continue on to like a 2nd or 3rd book. So let me know in the comment below if you have read this book before, because this book, when it first came out, it got pretty popular. Everybody and their mother was reading it, except me, I guess. I haven't read it yet, so I'm hoping that maybe I can pick this back up again, because I read a couple chapters. Like I said, I have my bookmark here. I think on page, let's see, 22. So I will hopefully pick this back up again and continue. The next book that I have for you is called Celestial Banquet by Roselle Lim. I actually was lucky enough to win this book in a giveaway, which is insane. I literally won the giveaway the day that this book was published. I feel like this book is just so me. The cover of the book has this little girl sitting. She was sitting on top of like a bowl of noodle, and the little blurb says the gods are always hungry. I mean, I am an avid reader and an avid eater, so I just feel like this book is perfect for me. The blurb on the top says Iron Chef meets the Hunger Games in Roselle Lim's dazzling YA fantasy debut, following a young noodle chef who competes in a cutthroat cooking competition for the gods. Once every generation, the major gods hold a celestial banquet, inviting chefs from all over the continent to prepare mouth-watering, fantastical feasts. The winner is awarded the fabled peaches of immortality, along with a lifetime of fame and fortune. The losers perish per the whims of the fickle gods. Hot-headed noodle chef Kai enters the competition with dreams of owning her own restaurant and supporting her impoverished peninsula town. Along with the drunken minor god Kama, her childhood crush turned friend Bo, and dreamy noble Sean, I think, Kai must now compete against the continent's finest culinary masters in trials that range from hunting and surfing up mystical sea serpents to preparing a magical omi rice from the eggs of the legendary Gion bird. Battling impossible odds and inconvenient feelings for both Bo and Sean, Kai is determined to prepare a feast fit for the gods, even if she loses her life. And I cannot wait to read this book. I read one of Roselle Lim's more kind of like contemporary romance literary fiction book not too long ago, and I just love that book so much. It has some like foodie element in it too, so like on some of the chapters I was literally hungry because I was reading the book at night, and I can't wait to read this book. I think it was mentioned that this is her YA fantasy debut, so I cannot wait to read it, and hopefully I will like it. So if you got a chance to maybe come across this book somewhere in your book shopping journey, make sure to pick this up. So this next one is, again, something that I don't really hear people talk about, but it's also maybe because this book was published probably a few years back. Let me see when. 2022. So maybe it's not a super old book, but anyways, it's Hotel Magnifique by Emily J. Taylor. Again, maybe because I'm not really a super avid fantasy reader and I just started reading back up again at the beginning of this year. I have never really heard people talk about this book, but I picked it up because the cover was just stunning. And I think if I remember correctly, I just probably finished reading Starling House and I wanted to find a book that has similar vibe. I mean, I know this is probably about a hotel, not really like an old creepy Victorian house like in this book, but I want to give it a chance. All her life, Janie has dreamed of elsewhere. Just barely scraping by with her job at a tannery, she's resigned to a dreary life in the port town of Dork, caring for her younger sister Sosa. That is until the Hotel Magnifique comes to town. The hotel is legendary not only for its whimsical enchantments, but also for its ability to travel, appearing in a different destination every morning. That is so cool. While Jenny and Sosa cannot afford the exorbitant cost of a guest stay, they can interview to join the staff and are soon whisked away on their greatest adventure of their lives. But once inside, Jenny quickly discovers their contracts are unbreakable and that beneath the marvelous glamour, the hotel is hiding dangerous secrets. With the vexingly handsome doorman Belle as her only ally, Jenny embarks on a mission to unravel the mystery of the magic at the heart of the hotel and free Sosa and the other staff from the cruelty of the ruthless maitre d' hotel. To succeed, she'll have to risk everything she loves, but failure would mean a fate far worse than never returning home. I think this is super interesting. I cannot wait to read it. And again, if you have read this book before in the past, let me know in the comment below what your thoughts are. Like I said, I feel like nobody really talked about this book before, but I imagine when this book first came out, it was probably pretty popular. I don't know. I do need to do maybe a little bit digging on the internet. Next book is called The Ministry of Life by Kellyanne Bradley. I feel like everybody and their mother, again, have read this book. This book probably became popular, I want to say earlier this year. I'm not really sure when it first got published. Let me see. 2024. Oh, I didn't think this book is that new. But anyways, this was published last year, and I feel like a lot of the booktubers and booktalkers and bookstagrammers that I follow talk about this book so much, and I kind of feel like I was left out because I didn't have this book at the time, and I finally got it, I'm pretty sure, from Book Outlet. It's about a civil servant who is offered the salary of her dreams to work on a top secret project. A recently established government ministry is gathering expats from across history to establish whether time travel is feasible for the human body, but also for the fabric of space-time. She is tasked with working as a bridge, living with, assisting, and monitoring the expat known as 1847 or Commander Graham Gore. As far as history is concerned, Commander Gore died on Sir John Franklin's doomed 1845 expedition to the Arctic, so he's a little disoriented to be living with an unmarried woman who regularly shows her calves, surrounded by outlandish concepts such as washing machines, Spotify, and the collapse of the British Empire. But with an appetite for discovery, a 7-a-day cigarette habit, and the support of a charming and chaotic cast of fellow expats, he soon adjusts. Over the next year, what begins as an uncomfortable housemaid dynamic evolves into something much deeper. By the time the true shape of the ministry's project comes to light, the bridge has fallen haphazardly, fervently in love, with consequences she never could have imagined. Forced to confront the choices that brought them together, the bridge must finally reckon with whether what she does next can change the future. I'm super excited about this. It has like time traveling element, and I heard that you don't really learn about the bridge, the main female character, until like the end of the book. Like we don't even know her name. So I'm super excited to read this book, hopefully sometime soon. I haven't really added this book to any of my upcoming TBR, but I know that I want to read it before it gets too late. I'm pretty sure this is going to be one of the books that people will talk about over the next few years because how popular and hyped up it is. But let's see. I want to read it for myself. Hopefully I would have the same, if not similar, feeling to most people who rate this book really, really highly. Last but not least is again another book that I feel like you have probably heard over and over again, and that is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by Fee Schwab. I feel like I've talked about this book quite a few times on my channel. This book actually, I'm pretty sure not new. Let me just check the published year of this book. It was published in 2020, 5 years ago. I honestly thought it was older than that. But anyways, again, this is one of the books where people have been talking about this, highly rated this book, and highly recommend this book all over the place. I think people have always recommended this book. I have never heard anybody not recommending this book. Maybe one or two people, but the majority love this book so much. And if you have never heard of this book before, it is basically about a young woman named Adeline who meets a dangerous stranger and makes a terrible mistake. As she realizes the limitation of her bargain, being able to live forever without being able to be remembered by anyone she sees, Addie chooses to flee her small village as everything she once held dear is torn away. But there are still dreams to be had and a life to live, and she is determined to find excitement and satisfaction in the wide, beckoning world, even if she will be doomed to be alone forever. Or not quite alone, as every year on her birthday, the alluring Lou comes to visit, checking to see if she's ready to give up her soul. Their darkly thrilling game stretches through the ages, seeing Addie witness history and fight to regain herself as she crosses oceans and tries on various lives. It will be 300 years before she stumbles into a hidden bookstore and discovers someone who can remember her name, and suddenly everything changes again. I am so excited again to read this book. Like I mentioned before, people have talked highly about this book, and again, I feel kind of left out that I haven't read this book, but I might try. I will read this book, hopefully before the end of this year. And again, if you have read this book, let me know in the comment below what your thoughts are or your rating, because like I said, a lot of people have not talked bad about this book. I feel like maybe around 1 to 2 people say that this is not the book for them, which is totally understandable. But anyways, let me know if you have read this book. Those are the 7 standalone fantasy books that you can read and be done with in just one book. Like I said, a lot of the fantasy books that I have read about that I'm interested to read are usually part of a series, and some of these books are not part of just like a duology or a trilogy. It is part of a saga, which honestly, I think a saga, I don't really know exactly what that entails. It's probably more than 3 books. It could be 7 books, because I think some of the saga that are out there are at least 5 to 7 books long, could be even longer. So if you're in the mood of just reading a fantasy book that are just pretty easy, you can read and be done with it in one book, those are the 7 books that I would recommend.